warning came from the outer edge of Council space. A listening station near the Carith Nebula picked up strange readings, something massive moving through the void. At first, the technicians thought it was an error. Nothing that big should exist, but the signal repeated. Gravity spike, off the charts. Then, silence. High Counselor Vena, of the Zellery Union, stood in the council hall. Her voice calm, but urgent. We have a potential breach. Unknown object. Estimated size, 20 kilometers. A wave of alarm rolled through the chamber. 20 kilometers. That was bigger than any known ship in the galaxy. Even the Council's command fortress wasn't half that size. Counselor Breen, of the Kresh, hissed, his eyes wide. What race builds ships that large? No one answered. A hologram of the object appeared in the center of the chamber. Blurry, low resolution taken from an old scout drone, but the shape was clear. Wasn't. A station. It was moving fast, too fast. Smooth black metal, thick armor plating, strange glowing lines along the hull. A symbol none of them recognized. A silver earth with a burning star behind it. It exited a wormhole, the technician explained. Origin unknown. It's headed straight for Council space. Some said it was an ancient ship lost for ages and now drifting. Others thought it might be a trick, a ghost signal. But the dread in the room was real. No one had seen anything like this before. 3 hours later, every Council race received the same message. We are humanity. We come in peace, but we are not blind. No one knew what humanity meant. It wasn't in any database. No known system, no records, no history. A complete mystery. Yet their ship, now called Titanus, won by the press, was not slowing down. It passed through the outer defense grid like it wasn't even there. Scanners tried to probe its systems. They failed. Every scan was bounced back, jammed, or absorbed. Like the ship knew what was happening. Some panicked. Others prepared weapons. A few wanted to send a welcome fleet. But before anything could be decided, Titanus 1 arrived. It slid into orbit above the Council homeworld VL, prime with a silence that felt like thunder. No engines roared, no heat trails, just cold, smooth motion, like it owned the space around it. Hundreds of ships surrounded it, not a single one dared to fire. From orbit, the ship looked like a city. Black metal towers, weapon bays as large as cargo ships, strange panels shifting and glowing. There were no life signs anyone could detect. And still, the ship did nothing. No landing ships, no weapons online, until the voice came again. This time, it wasn't just a message. It was a broadcast into every mind, every ship, every comm system. We request audience with the Galactic Council. Humanity has returned. The words echoed through the galaxy. Billions heard it. Billions feared it. Inside Titanus 1, Commander Dax Wren stood on the command deck. He was tall, calm, and quiet. His eyes never left the screen, showing the Council's response time. 3 minutes late. Expected that. Still no answer? He asked. The ship's AI, a voice that sounded like a calm woman, replied. No official. Reply, 12 Council fleets on standby. 4 have locked weapons. 1 attempted a deep scan. Did we stop it? Of course. He nodded once. Good. Commander Wren had expected resistance. Humanity always faced resistance. It was the one thing that never changed, no matter what planet they landed on. The AI continued its report, external chatter increasing. Some think we are a lost ancient race. Others think we are a threat. He smiled slightly. Let them think. From space, the Titanus 1 didn't move. But inside, thousands of humans were preparing. Scientists, soldiers, diplomats. Every section of the ship had a role. This was no warship alone. It was a statement. A test. Humanity had grown strong in the shadows. After fleeing a dying Earth centuries ago, they vanished into deep space. No help, no allies, just survival. And survival had shaped them into something new. They didn't evolve with peace. They evolved through war. Now, the galaxy would see what that meant, back in the Council chamber. Panic turned into debate. We can't let them land. shouted Counselor Drex. "We don't even know what they are. And if they are peaceful?" asked Vena. "They brought a warship or a mobile city? Look at the design. It has agricultural pods, civilian sectors." Counselor Breen's voice was low. "No one builds a 20-kilometer ship for farming." At last the council reached a decision. A delegation would be sent not to the humans, but near them, a neutral location. If humanity wanted talks, they had to agree to rules. But when the message was sent, Titanus 1 responded immediately. "We do not follow your rules. We follow the rules of survival. You may send your delegates. But know this: any sign of aggression will be answered. We are not conquerors. But we will not kneel." Every ship in orbit received the same warning. Commander Dax watched the message go out. "Think they'll listen?" the AI replied. 80% chance of fear-driven compliance. 19% chance of reckless strike. 1% chance of full surrender. He smirked. Optimistic. Hours later, 3 small ships approached. Council delegates, heavily guarded. They stopped just outside the docking ring of Titanus 1. No response. No attack. Just a silent invitation. A tunnel extended from the side of the Titan. It didn't lock. It opened. A perfect seal formed between the ships. The delegates stepped through and froze. Inside was not what they expected. There were gardens, trees, birds, waterfalls. It looked like a small Earth, perfectly controlled, peaceful, and yet armed soldiers stood in the shadows, watching. Always watching, the lead delegate, a soft-skinned Yalari diplomat, asked, "Is this a human ship?" Commander Dax stepped forward. "This is home." The delegates stared. "Why come here? Why reveal yourselves now?" He paused. "'Cause we're tired of hiding. We've watched you, listened, waited, and we saw the same story over and over. Weak or crushed, strong or feared. Peace is traded for silence." He looked at them, voice steady. "Humanity doesn't stay silent." The Yalari diplomat swallowed hard. "What do you want?" Commander Dax looked out a window where stars burned cold in the dark. Then he turned back and said, "We want the truth. We want to know who erased our name from the stars. And we want a seat at the table we were denied. We don't come to beg. We come to warn. If you want war, look outside. If you want peace, we'll talk." Silence filled the room. Outside, Titanus 1 hung in orbit, casting a shadow across the planet. Like a giant waiting, a monster from the void, or a warning from the past. And far beyond the council systems, something old stirred in the dark, something that remembered the name humanity and had once tried to wipe it out. Now it knew they had returned. And it was afraid. The cloaked vessel drifted slowly toward Titanus 1. It was invisible to the naked eye, hidden from most scanners. Built by the Avari Empire, it was one of the best stealth ships in the galaxy. Fast, quiet, and deadly. Inside, Commander Raish of the Javari watched the massive human ship on his screen. Even cloaked, his crew looked nervous. Titanus 1 didn't move, didn't respond. Just floated like a mountain in orbit. "Begin deep scan," Raish ordered. "Let's see what secrets these humans are hiding." The scan activated. Energy. Beams, soft and silent, brushed the surface of the Titan. For 2 seconds, nothing happened. Then everything went wrong. The screens blinked, lights dimmed. A loud alarm blared through the Avari ship. "What's happening?" Resh shouted. The pilot gasped. "We've been detected. They're scanning us back." A cold voice filled the Avari ship. Not through speakers, not through radio. It echoed inside their minds. "We see you." The cloak dropped.
Oh.
Systems shut down. Engines offline. Weapons disabled. Life support barely holding. Then just as suddenly, power returned. But the message was clear. Back on Virel Prime, the footage was already spreading. Someone had been foolish enough to try a stealth scan. Titanus 1 responded without firing a single shot. Across council space, fear rippled. Inside the council, Hall silence fell. Counselor Vena stared at the new report. They disabled a cloaked Yavari ship, without even aiming. Counselor Breen slammed a hand against his desk. This is power we cannot allow. We must take action. Vena turned to him, voice cold. Take action against what? Ship that can cripple fleets without firing? A race we don't even understand? Others murmured in agreement. Then came a second report, a high-resolution image taken by a nearby probe. It showed Titanus, one's hull shifting panels moving, weapons adjusting, not in attack, in defense. The ship was alive, reacting, adapting. They're watching everything. Someone whispered, inside Titanus 1. Commander Dax listened as his AI played intercepted council chatter. Panic, she said calmly. They fear us. They should, Dax replied. But fear is a knife. It's pointed the wrong way. It cuts you first. He walked to the window, arms behind his back. We warned them. We asked for peace. Should we activate the display protocol? Dax nodded. It's time they understood just what Titanus 1 is. Later that day, a massive light beam shot from Titanus 1 into deep space. It didn't hit anything. It wasn't an attack. It was a signal, a challenge. 3 seconds later, space twisted near the moon of Virel Prime. A rock the size of a city suddenly vanished, disintegrated. By a second beam, in full view of every satellite, every ship, every sensor, the message was simple. We see everything. Can end everything. The council was now divided. Some demanded peace talks immediately. Others screamed for a show of force. Few races quietly moved their fleets into defensive positions. But the smart ones did not prepare for war. They prepared for surrender. Aboard Titanus 1. Admiral Cora, second in command, stood beside Dax. She looked calm, but her hands were clenched. Are we pushing? Too hard? She asked. Dax didn't answer right away. Stared at the stars. We have to push. We're not showing them our worst. We're showing them our restraint. Cora shook her head. They don't see it that way. They only see the size of the ship, the weapons, silence. That's their problem, Dax replied. We came to make contact, not to bow. Then the AI spoke again. Council fleet movement detected. 3 species, the Kresh, the Vanya, and the Sark. Gax raised an eyebrow. Aggression? Likely. They're forming behind the second moon. Concealed, but not cloaked. Cora swore under her breath. They're going to test us. Dax sighed. So be it. Defensive posture only. No lethal fire unless fired upon. Moments later, the trap was sprung. 57 ships launched from the far side of the moon. A coordinated strike force. Plasma cannons charged. Missiles locked. Tana's 1 didn't move. The lead Krish battleship fired. A bright blue beam raced toward Titanus 1's hull and stopped frozen in mid-air. It didn't hit a shield. It didn't explode. It simply disappeared. A soft humming sound filled the space around the Titan. A ripple of energy moved across its surface like a living thing. The next moment, every enemy ship froze, engines dead, weapons offline. Communications. Silent, no explosions, no deaths. It's just silence. Then a voice spoke again. This was your only warning. Across the galaxy, live feeds of the battle played nonstop. Analysts tried to explain it. Scientists failed. Soldiers watched and whispered. Even the most advanced races didn't understand what had happened. Back on Virel Prime, the council met in emergency session. Counselor Drex was pale. It could have destroyed us all. Vena spoke quietly. But they didn't. They're playing with us. They're showing us mercy. Counselor Brienne slammed his fists down. I say we vote now. Are humans a galactic threat? But no vote came, because fear had replaced pride, and fear brought silence. Later that evening, Titanus 1 sent one final message for the day. We will wait 3 cycles. Then we will speak again. Decide wisely. Inside the command deck, Dax leaned back in his chair. His voice was tired but firm. That's enough for now. The AI hummed softly. They will hate us, They already do. And if they strike again, we'll show them what Titanus 2 can do. Cora turned to him sharply. You want to call backup? Not yet. Only if they forget the first lesson. She stared out at the stars. They won't forget. But far from the main system, in a dark part of space, something stirred. A watcher, an old enemy of Earth from long before it vanished. They had hoped humanity would stay dead. Now, they saw the Titanus 1, and they knew. Humanity had returned, and this time, they weren't alone. For 3 days, the galaxy held its breath. Every major race, every ship, every outpost. Watched Titanus 1 in orbit above Virel Prime. The human warship had disabled over 50 Council vessels without firing a single real shot. No deaths. No wreckage, just silence. The council chamber, normally a place of order and calm, had become a battlefield of words. They came in a warship, Councillor Breen shouted. They didn't ask. They declared. Councillor Vena stood tall. And yet, they haven't harmed a single being. Can any of you say we would have done the same if our positions were reversed? The debate grew hotter. Some feared humanity's return meant war. Others said it was a warning not to repeat old mistakes. But no one knew what the humans truly wanted, not yet. That morning, everything changed. A message was broadcast across the galaxy. It was not encrypted, it wasn't private. It was a voice. Not of a diplomat, not of a soldier, but of something more. It came from Titanus 1. We are humanity. Come armed because peace is not guaranteed. You erased us. You forgot us. But we never forgot you. The voice echoed in every corner of council space. Inside homes, ships, schools, military bases, people stopped what they were doing and listened. We do not come to conquer, but we do not come to beg. We offer peace to those who value strength, truth, and memory. But to those who choose fear, we are the storm. The broadcast ended. No threats. No demands. Just the kind of message that makes you think of fire in the sky later that cycle. The council agreed to a rare action. Send a diplomatic team inside the Titanus 1. A delegation of 3 was chosen. Vena of the Zellery Union. Calm and wise. Sirach of the Mindari Swarm. Curious and cautious. Admiral Krall of the Kresh Empire. Proud and armed, their shuttle approached slowly. Human escorts guided them, using drones rather than manned ships. No weapons were shown, no shields were raised, just a single door that opened. And waited inside, the council delegates expected metal, steel, and cold corridors. Instead, they walked into a forest. Trees grew tall, real trees, birds chirped, water flowed in glowing streams. The air was clean, warm, full of life. They walked. In silence, stunned. This can't be real, Admiral Krall muttered. It is, Vena whispered. I can feel the gravity field, the air pressure. This is living space, not war space. Then, from the shadows he appeared, Commander Dax Wren, a tall human in a dark uniform. No armor, no weapons. He smiled slightly and extended a hand. Welcome. To Titanus 1. I am Commander Dax. They didn't shake his hand. Sirach clicked nervously. This is your warship? Dax nodded, part of it. Vena tilted her head. Why greet us here? Is it in a forest? Dax looked around. Because we're not what you expected. This ship is not just a weapon. It's a message. A home. A memory. Admiral Krall narrowed his eyes. You say you come in peace, but you arrive in force. You speak of memory, but we have no record. Of you. Dax looked him straight in the eye. That's not our fault. He turned and led them deeper into the forest. Flowers glowed gently in the soil. It felt unreal. Finally, they entered a tall chamber. Holograms lit up around them. What they saw made their blood freeze. Images of old battles. Human ships fighting ancient enemies, some of them familiar, others lost to history. Earth burning. Humans fleeing across the stars. A long, brutal exile. You fought in the Great Silence War, Vena whispered, but that was 10,000 years ago? Dax nodded. We were part of it. We were betrayed. Our allies turned on us. Our world was shattered. Our name erased. Crawl scoffed. You expect us to believe that? Dax tapped a panel. A new image appeared. An alien fleet, ancient design, slaughtering civilians. The alien flags were unmistakable. One of them was Krall's own people, the Kresh Empire. We don't need you to believe. We have proof. Krall's fists tightened. Lies. But the other two delegates didn't speak. They saw the truth, and they saw the other. Truth: humanity had survived. Not just survived, but advanced. Quietly, silently, in hidden systems, far beyond known space. And now, they had returned. Vena stepped forward. What do you want, Commander N? What do humans seek now? Dax's face softened. A place in the galaxy. Respect and safety. Surak tilted his head. From who? From anyone who thinks they can erase us again. A long silence passed. Then Dax asked, What do you want? Vena glanced at Krall, then Surak, to understand. Then we start there. Dax turned and led them into the heart of the ship. They passed rooms of light and code, training halls, libraries, star maps older than any council record. A child passed them in a hallway, human girls smiling, waving. This isn't a war machine, Surak whispered. This is a civilization. Dax heard him. Yes, but one trained by war. Finally, they reached the core room of light, glowing with energy. This is the soul of Titanus 1, Dax said. A massive AI stood before them. His voice was calm, female, clear. I am Athena. I protect this ship. I protect humanity. Krall stepped back. You let an AI command your ship? No, Dax said. She is the ship. Athena spoke again. We monitor all threats, all movement, all energy spikes. We react faster than thought. Faster than hate. Then she turned her gaze directly. On the delegates, you have three choices. Accept our place, fear our rise, or try to stop us. Silence again. Finally, Vena asked, And if we accept you? Dax smiled. Then we share our knowledge, our maps, our warnings. Because something else is coming. What do you mean? Dax looked to the stars. There's something out there, older than us, older than you. We've seen it in the dark. It remembers us too. He turned back to the delegates, and it fears only one thing: what happens when we all stand together. Outside, Titanus 1 pulsed once with soft blue light. Not a weapon, not a threat, but a heartbeat. Humanity had returned. And they brought not just power, but purpose. The meeting was supposed to bring peace. Instead, it brought betrayal. From deep space, three fleets moved in silence: Kresh, Vanir, and Sark, known in council space as the Iron Triumvirate. These were the oldest warrior species in the galaxy. Proud, aggressive, afraid of nothing. And now, afraid of something new. Humanity, on their encrypted channels, the orders were clear. Strike now. End this before they grow stronger. The fleets had studied Titanus 1 for 3 cycles. They believed the humans were bluffing, that their weapons were for show, that the diplomatic mission was a trick to buy time, so they attacked. It began with a stealth wave, hundreds of long-range plasma torpedoes, each the size of a cruiser, streaking through the void toward Titanus 1. The plan: destroy the ship in one massive burst. No warning, no negotiation. But the humans were ready. On the bridge of Titanus 1, Commander Dax Ren stood silently, eyes fixed on the holographic display. Multiple torpedoes inbound, said Athena, the ship's AI. Her voice was calm. To calm defensive net online? Already active? Recommend non-lethal response? Dax nodded once. Let's teach them what mercy feels like. In orbit above Varel Prime, the stars flashed, Not from explosions, but from interceptions. Human. Defense drones, small, silent, fast swarmed out from the belly of Titanus 1. In seconds, they formed a glowing web of energy that caught the incoming torpedoes. Like insects in a net, each one was disarmed, neutralized, deconstructed mid-dash flight. No fire. No blast, just silence. The attacking fleets never even saw what hit them, because the counterattack had already begun. Titanus 1 launched no missiles. It fired no lasers. It simply sent out a pulseless soft wave of energy that rippled through. Spaced at first, the Kresh admiral laughed. That's it? A pulse? Then his ship's engines died. Then his weapons went offline. Then his fleet went dark. Across all three fleets, the same thing happened. Power loss, system crash, AI confusion, life support flickering. It was like their ships had been turned off, and all the while, Titanus 1 stayed still, quiet, unmoved. Then, once every ship was completely disabled, the human voice returned. You chose violence, we chose restraint. This is your lesson. The message was sent to the council. As well, unedited, brutal in its honesty. Across the galaxy, fear turned into realization. The humans hadn't bluffed. They hadn't even used real weapons. They had simply shut the fleets down inside the council chamber. The impact was instant. Councillor Vena was the first to speak. 3 fleets. Neutralized without loss of life. That's impossible. Councillor Breen was pale. They're not just strong. They're prepared. Strategically. Morally. Admiral Soren of the Sark stood and growled. We must retaliate. No, Vena said sharply. You already tried. You lost. Be glad they spared you. Media outlets buzzed. With the footage, civilians debated in the streets. Military leaders rewrote their doctrine. And the people of many races, those tired of war, began to feel something strange. Hope. Hope that someone, finally, could end the rule of fear. Aboard Titanus 1, Commander Dax stood with Admiral Cora in the observation room, watching the disabled. Enemy ships drift helplessly. They'll think twice before firing again, Cora said. Dax didn't smile. They'll think, but they won't all learn. Should we destroy the fleets? He shook his head. No, send them home. Dead ships can't speak, but survivors. They carry stories. Cora nodded slowly. Stories of power, stories of choice, Dax corrected. We didn't come here to crush them. We came here to show them. He looked at the display again. Humanity doesn't forget, but we forgive once. 3 hours later, a private message arrived from the Kresh admiral whose fleet had attacked. It was short. Grim, we underestimated you. That will not happen again, Dax replied instantly. Good, because we haven't shown you the worst yet. The message was leaked on purpose. Let the galaxy know. Humanity is not just strong. They were holding back, in the dark reaches of space. Far beyond Council territory, another signal pulsed. Old, forgotten. A machine deep beneath a dead planet. Blinked awake. It had watched the battle, watched the humans, and it remembered. Them, not as enemies, but as survivors. The kind that come back stronger than before. The kind that once pushed far enough would burn the stars to stay free. The signal came without warning. In the middle of the night cycle across Council space, every comm system glitched at once. Then a single word flashed across every screen, every ship, every datapad. Earthborn. The message repeated 3 times. Then silence. No sender. No trace. No location. The word hadn't been used in over 10,000 years. At first, people thought it was a prank. Or a trick. The older races, those with long memories, froze. Some council members stopped breathing. Others began whispering to their aides in private. Panic because they knew what the word meant. Earthborn, the lost ones. The race that vanished in the Great Silence War. The race that should have been extinct, and now, as the name had returned. Inside the council chamber, the session, was chaos. They can't be the same humans, shouted Counselor Drex. The timeline doesn't match. Counselor Vena stepped forward, holding an old archive scroll. This record was sealed by the ancient accord. It names a species known as Earthborn, coded as hostile, highly adaptive, warlike, and dangerous. Who sealed it?
What other?
Counselor asked. Vena looked up slowly. Your ancestors. Mine. All of ours. Together. Whispers swept the room. The record had been buried, but it was real, and now it was unlocked. Someone, somewhere, had pulled it from the shadows and shared it galaxy-wide. But why? Aboard Titanus 1, Commander Dax stood before a screen showing the message on repeat. Earthborn, Cora said quietly. They know who we are now. They were always going to find out, Dax replied. Athena, the ship's AI, spoke calmly. The signal did not come from any known council system. It came from deep beyond the rim. Estimated origin. Planet Zeroth. Status. Long dead. Last contact. 9,802 years ago. Dax frowned. That system's supposed to be barren, it was, Athena said. Until now. Dax turned to Cora. Prep long-range recon. Quietly. We need to know who sent that signal. And why. Cora nodded and left, but even as orders were given, Dax knew what was happening. The galaxy was beginning to remember, and memories could be weapons in the Varel system. Something else stirred, an alien species called the Tarzan. Known for their ancient archives and deep space sensors, sent a direct request to meet with the humans. Not out of fear, but respect. They remembered the old wars. They remembered the Earthborn soldiers standing against impossible odds. They remembered honor inside the Titanus 1 diplomacy chamber. 2 Tarzan priests bowed before Dax. We believed your kind was gone, one said. Not gone, Dax replied. Just quiet. The second priest stepped forward. The galaxy is not ready for your return, but we are. We seek alliance. Dax looked at them carefully. Why now? Because something worse than you is waking up, the priest said, and only you ever made it bleed. At the same time, panic spread through the Iron Triumvirate. The Kresh, Vanir, and Sark had all attacked Titanus 1. All had failed, but now they feared something more than human retaliation. They feared their ancestors. Secrets would come to light, because the Earthborn had not simply been forgotten. They had been erased, and some in the council had helped, not in war, but in silence. Old crimes, old lies, old betrayals. Now, the galaxy would learn the truth, and the humans had proof. Inside a private vault in Titanus 1, Cora examined the old archives. Data collected during their time in the dark zones, hidden stations, dead satellites, abandoned. Ships' every file told the same story. The Council hadn't just forgotten humanity, they had purged them, wiped their records, burned their maps, hunted their colonies, branded them as monsters, and failed. Cora turned to Dax. If we release this, we shatter the Council's history. Dax nodded. Good, they've ruled by hiding the truth. Let's see how they handle it. Sunlight. Hours later, the humans released a single data packet to every public channel in Council space. It was simple. It showed humans during the Great Silence War, fighting side by side with some Council species, rescuing civilians, dying by the thousands. Then it showed betrayal. Human ships destroyed by their own allies, ambushes, false treaties. The final attack on Earth. It ended with the words, "We didn't forget, we forgave, until now." Billions. Watched in silence, and for the first time in thousands of years, the people of the galaxy began to question the Council's version of history. Who else had been erased? What else had been hidden? And if humanity had survived, what else was coming? On the edge of known space, in the ruins of planet Zeroth, an ancient machine lit up for the first time in eons. Inside its core, old data ran dot images of Earthborn warriors. Their faces, their tactics, their pain. A single red eye focused on the star charts. Then it spoke in a voice of metal and hate. The fire returns. The cycle begins again. It began sending signals, not to the Council, but to something deeper, older, worse. Because the galaxy had not just erased humanity to forget them, it had erased them to delay something else. And now, thanks to Titanus 1, the countdown had begun. The chamber was burning, not from fire, but from rage. The Galactic Council had never seen this much shouting. Delegates screamed over one another. Holographic feeds from across the galaxy played in the air above them. Protests, riots, news anchors. In shock, the human transmission had changed everything. The footage showed betrayal, lies, old wars. Council species turning on their human allies and erasing history to hide it. Now, the people of the galaxy wanted answers, and some wanted blood. "We must issue a formal apology," shouted Councillor Vena, "or we risk complete war."
Note, Counselor!
Brienne slammed his hand on the table. "We don't negotiate with warships. They haven't fired a single lethal shot," she snapped. Yet, across the hall, whispers grew louder. Fear twisted into something worse, paranoia. Delegates looked at each other with suspicion. Who knew the truth all along? Who helped hide it? Then a vote was called. The question: should humanity be granted full diplomatic recognition? The room went silent. Some saw a chance to heal the past. Others saw the beginning of its own downfall. But just before the vote could begin, a blinding flash lit the chamber. Screams echoed. A delegate fell to the floor, eyes wide, lifeless. Assassinated. Security. Bots rushed in. Shields went up. Panic spread. The assassin was caught within seconds. Not human. Vanir, a known radical. Connected to a shadow group called the Core, believed to operate in secret throughout the Council, a group that did not want peace with humanity. Inside, Titanus 1. The news arrived within minutes. Commander Dax watched the footage of the dead. Delegate with a cold expression. "Send med teams," Cora asked. "No," Dax said. "This wasn't about killing one person. It was a message. Athena, the AI, confirmed it. Intercepted messages suggest coordination. There may be more attacks. Possibly on us." Cora stepped forward. "They're trying to bait us. Make us respond with violence." Dax's voice was quiet but sharp, "and we won't give them that satisfaction." He turned to the communications officer. "Prepare a broadcast. I'll speak to them directly." An hour later, Titanus 1 interrupted all public feeds across Council space. The image was simple. Commander Dax, standing on the bridge, eyes steady. He didn't raise his voice. "One of your own was killed today, not by us, but because of us. Because some among you still live in fear of truth." He stepped closer to the camera. "We came to talk. You answered with sabotage. We stood down your fleets. You sent spies. Now you kill each other and blame us." The screen darkened behind him. Images appeared. The old betrayals. The assassination. The captured Vanir. "Agent, we didn't come to dominate.
Ow.
But we will never kneel. Not again. If you choose fear. You choose extinction. If you choose honesty, we will stand beside you." The feed ended with one final line. "Choose carefully. This is your last chance." On Virel Prime, the effect was instant. Some saw strength, some saw threat, but all saw control. The humans didn't panic. They didn't retaliate. They held the line that same day. In a private chamber far from the chaos, the remaining triumvirate leaders met in secret. "They're winning the galaxy over," growled Admiral. "Crawl. Through words." "They'll take our place at the table," hissed a Sark noble. "We need to act," said a Vonner general, "before it's too late." A plan was made, not to destroy Titanus 1. They knew that would fail. But to break the humans' image, to make them the villains again, to trap them. Meanwhile, the human ship received a strange request, an emergency summit face-to-face in the Grand Chamber. All species present. Dax read the invite twice. "It smells like bait," Cora said. "It is," Dax agreed. "But we're going anyway." Cora blinked. "You sure?" "We don't run from traps," Dax said. "We walk in, eyes open, and remind them why we're still standing. As preparations began, Athena reported one final detail. Unknown signal detected. Origin, deep void, not council, not ours. Pattern matches, Presilence era technology. With for Rislif took Repuslot with 5 Winak of like 1 mass, that's why 1 was so wet and was and was Yes, can it reach us? Not yet. He looked out into the black sea of stars. Then we need to fix this council mess fast, before something worse gets here. Because while the galaxy burned with political lies and ancient guilt, something old was coming. And it remembered the Earthborn not with hate, but with fear. The wormhole opened without warning, just outside the Sol system, near Neptune's orbit. Space twisted and cracked like broken glass. A fleet poured out 40 alien warships, silent and fast. Their hulls were black. Their weapons were already charged. No warnings, no messages. Just one purpose. Reach Earth. They weren't council ships. Their designs were unfamiliar. But their goal was clear. Head straight for humanity's homeworld. And strike first. Inside the lead ship, a cold voice hissed, "Strike hard. Strike fast. If Earth falls, the humans will fold." But they were wrong, so very wrong. At the exact moment the enemy fleet entered Sol space, alarms triggered across the galaxy. On Titanus 1, Athena's voice cut through the silence. Sol system breach detected. Hostile fleet inbound. Earth is under threat. Commander Dax Wren didn't blink. How many ships? He asked. 40 vessels. Unknown class. On council signatures. Estimated time to Earth orbit, 34 minutes. Admiral Cora stared. They bypassed council space entirely. They used a dead gate, Athena said. A forgotten wormhole, likely hidden for centuries. Dax turned to her. Time to fire up the Titans. Athena responded simply, confirming activation of Titanus 2, 3, and 4. Estimated launch, 60 seconds. Earth had not been caught sleeping ever since Titanus 1 left. The planet had changed. What once was peaceful and quiet now bristled with defenses, orbital platforms, railgun stations, drone fleets, and a final line of defense hidden beneath Earth's crust. The world that once wept in silence was now ready to roar. As the enemy fleet moved in, Earth didn't panic. It prepared and in orbit. The sky began to change. The enemy fleet approached Mars when Titanus 2 appeared. It didn't exit from a gate. It punched through space. A ripple. Then a flash, and the second Titan-class warship arrived in full force, 25 kilometers long. Its black armor glowed with pulsing blue light. Its shape was similar to Titanus 1, but sleeker. Built for speed. Built for hunting, the enemy fleet paused, and then Titanus 3 and 4 arrived behind it. Now, were 3 of them. 3 monsters of metal, and Earth lit up behind them like a shield of fire. The battle didn't last long. The first enemy ship fired. A single plasma lance shot across the void. It never hit, because Titanus de Blinkdan was suddenly behind them. One by one, the alien ships were shut down. Not destroyed, disabled, cut open with surgical precision. Drones boarded them, took prisoners, captured tech. The humans didn't need to kill. They only needed to prove by the time the battle ended. 39 ships floated dead in space. 1 escaped on purpose to carry a message back. A warning. Earth is not weak. Earth is the forge. Back on Varel Prime. The council received the footage only an hour later. The reaction was instant. Some gasped. Others fell silent, but most sat in fear, because now they understood. Titanus 1 was never humanity's best ship. It was the one they felt safe enough to send first. The real weapons had been waiting. Inside the council chamber, Counselor Vena stood to speak. We have made a mistake. Humanity is not our enemy. They are our mirror. And the enemy that just attacked Earth is not from our ranks. Counselor Breen looked at her shaken. Then who? A deep silence fell, because no one knew. Back aboard Titanus 1, Dax stood. In front of a hologram, the prisoner from the enemy fleet. A tall, pale being, insect-like armor. Eyes full of hate. We were told Earth was soft. It spat. That you had forgotten how to fight. Dax stepped forward slowly. You forgot who taught the galaxy what war really is. He stared into the creature's eyes. We're not your prey. Then he leaned in closer. We're your end, in the deepest parts of space, in the ruins. Of the forgotten world, Zero. The ancient machine watched the feed. It had sent the fleet. It had hoped Earth would burn, but now it recalculated. Titans confirmed. Earthborn strength, broken, humanity is awake. Turn toward the stars. Begin Phase 2, somewhere in a dark system beyond Council space. Other machines began to wake, because the humans had passed the test. But the true war was just beginning. The stars trembled across the galaxy. Every deep-range sensor picked up the same thing, a pulse from beyond the edge of the void. Not a signal, not a transmission, a wave. Like something massive had stirred, on ancient planets long thought dead. Machines clicked awake in forgotten zones of deep space. Old ships began to move slow at first, then faster. Drawn by a force older than any council memory, something was coming. And this time, it wasn't just watching. On Titanus 1, Athena's voice was sharper than ever before. Galaxy-wide anomaly detected. Gravitational shifts across 9 sectors. Estimated origin. Zeroth. Incoming object size. Unknown. Mass. Immeasurable. Speed. 12 XFTL. Commander Dax Wren stood tall on the bridge, arms behind his back. Can it be stopped? Athena paused. No. Behind him, the crew didn't flinch. Cora adjusted her sidearm so it begins. Yes, Dax said. But not without us. Council was in full panic. Emergency votes were called. Military fleets scrambled. Leaders begged old allies for support, but none of their weapons, shields, or ships could stop what was coming. Because the thing arriving wasn't a ship. It was a remnant. A last relic from the ancient war. The one the galaxy thought was erased. A world eater. Conscious, angry, and it had one target, Earth. But it wasn't coming for revenge. It was coming for fear, because once, long ago, Earthborn soldiers had nearly destroyed its kind. Weren't supposed to have survived. Now it had returned to finish the job. Humanity didn't wait. As the World Eater approached, Earth activated the full fleet. Titanus 1, 2, 3, and 4 joined by their final counterpart. Titanus 0 not. A ship. A weapon built deep under Antarctica. The original Titan-class war engine, the only one never launched until now. It cracked through the ice with thunder, lifted into orbit with Earth's core as fuel, and lit the sky with nuclear flame. Even the World Eater paused for 1 second. Enough time for Earth to say, "We remember you." And then they attacked. The final battle stretched across 3 star systems. Dax commanded from Titanus 1, flanked by the others. The World Eater's hull was kilometers thick. Its interior swarmed with anti-boarding drones and planet killer cannons. But humans didn't attack it alone. They had allies, real ones, the Tar, Zen, the Growl. Even defectors from the Council joined them, inspired by Earth's honor and angered by their leaders. Lies. The galaxy itself was shifting, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the humans led it. Inside the World Eater, Cora and her team boarded through a core breach. The machine tried to trap them, locking doors, shutting gravity, even turning off the air. But Cora smiled inside her helmet. You forget, we're the species that learned to survive our own planet. They fought their way to its core, planted a Spica quantum bomb wrapped in old Earth's Takan Rand. It exploded just as the World Eater charged its main weapon. But instead of firing, it screamed and folded in on itself. Gone, erased, humanity had won again. Back on Earth, the skies were full of ash and light. The fleet returned. Titanus ships landed like gods, and all across the galaxy. Messages poured in, not from governments, from people. One by one, planets lit up with a single word, Earthborn, not as a warning, as a welcome. The name that once brought fear now brought hope, because the humans hadn't just survived. They had come back stronger, smarter, unwilling to lie. They had shown mercy, but kept their fists ready. They had brought war, but only when truth was attacked. And most of all, they had reminded the stars why Earth was never meant to be forgotten in the council chamber. Silence hung like smoke. Counselor Venus stood before the rest. "No more hiding," she said. "No more fear. The Earthborn are not our past. They are our future." And for once, no one disagreed. Back on Titanus 1, Dax stood at the front viewport, watching the stars shift. Cora joined him. "We're part of the galaxy again." "No," Dax said. "The galaxy is part of us now," Athena spoke. Multiple messages inbound, trade offers, peace talks. A new alliance proposal. Dax smiled faintly. "Tell them we'll read it after breakfast." The crew laughed, and somewhere, deep in the void, another machine woke. It looked toward Earth and turned the other way, because even the darkest corners of space whispered one truth. Humanity never needed to conquer the stars. They simply needed the stars to remember what happens when you push the Earthborn too far. End.